for the sake of this assembly and all living beings, please turn the wonderful Dharma wheel to teach and guide us how to end birth and death, leave suffering and attain bliss, and quickly realize non-birth. Cung thính đại đức thần thịnh vì tứ pháp hội cập nhật thiết chúng sanh, thịnh chuyên diệu pháp luân giáo đạo ngã môn, như á liêu sanh thoát tư ly khổ đắc lạc, tốc chứng vô sanh. Homage to the Blessed Noble and Perfectly Enlightened One. Nam mô Sa Nan Thô Sư Chế Đô Ye A La Hư Đi Sa Miao San Pu Tô Xie. Nam mô Ta Ta Tha Tô Ya Da Ya La Ha Đê Tam Miệu Tam Bồ Đà Toa. The unsurpassed, profound, subtle, and wonderful Dharma in 100,000 million aeons is difficult to encounter. Now that I'm able to see and hear, I will receive and maintain it. I vow to fathom the thus come one's true and actual principles. Wu sheng 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 wei miao fa bai qian wan jie nan zao yu. 我今见闻得受持，愿解如来真实义。O Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, Master Jingliang, Master YongHua, all Bhakti-nuns and all good advisors, Emitofuo. Chư Phật Bồ Tát, kính thưa Thanh Nương, Đại sư, Hòa thượng Niên Hóa, quý thầy cô và quý vị thiện tri thức A Di Đà Phật. Chư Phật Bồ Tát, Chính Liang Đại sư, Sư Phụ Sang Rần,各位出家人，各位善知识，阿弥陀佛。Hello everyone. Today is the 25th of February 2022. We are gathered here to continue discussing the prologue to the Avatamsaka Sutra written by Master Jingliang. It's kind of abstract, it's very scholarly, so I think it's very beneficial for us to plant the seeds of this superior knowledge. So we're going to try to keep up with it as much as we can. Don't worry, okay? It's not about, with this prologue here, it's not about understanding, it's about exposure, it's about planting the seeds so that the good seeds will take care of itself. These are indestructible Vajra seeds. They will always be there until you open your ultimate enlightenment, okay? And this you will not find this kind of seeds in other types of cultivation methods at all. And 163.4 reliance and arisal are non-obstructive because there is sudden appearance with no thoughts due to the power of the sea level.
(4) 一起无碍，无心顿现，海应力故。
Okay, number 4. there is we're discussing non-obstructions, non-obstructiveness, okay? Meaning that this is, non-obstruction refers to the fact that you should not be attached to marks. Just because you see black does not obstruct it from white, and vice versa, okay? So that's why it opens our mind as to, we tend to limit our mind, have tunnel vision, and we put blinders on. And so this sutra here is very useful in helping us get rid of those unnecessary restrictions that we put in our mind. Ordinary people, they limit their mind because they can't handle it. And that's why the mind becomes more restricted. Whereas even though we can't handle it right now, but we plant the seeds so that we can open it later, right? To undo the damages that we do to ourselves. So on this 164 commentary, it says that what is relied on and the associate is arisal, thank you, are non-obstructive. It's like kids depending on parents, but so that's a reliance. But once the kids arise as adults, they're independent. So that's why just because you depend on someone or something doesn't mean that you cannot be free from it. Okay, does not preclude you from being free from it. Okay. And because there is a certain arisal without thought, there is in this Buddha world, the arisal can be without thoughts at all. In our world, arisal are from thoughts. Thoughts arise. In the Buddha world, the arisal can happen without thought. Why? Because of the C seal. That is due to the spiritual powers of the C seal samadhi of the Buddhas. Yes, we're talking about Buddha realm. 165.5. True and response are non-obstructive because the response is the same as the Dharma, being of one flavor and equal.
5. 真应无碍，应即同法，一味平等故。
Okay, 166. It refers to the Buddha bodies. Buddha has a true body, which is the Dharma body, and he also has response bodies. And so the work, for example, that the benefit you get from the true Dharma body of the Buddha is not obstructed by the benefits you get from the response bodies. Okay, so response body, for example, being Shakyamuni Buddha. Even though Shakyamuni Buddha is limited, he has physical limitations. But actually, while he's there, we are experiencing these great benefits. But at the same time, we also are benefiting from the powers and the compassion and kindness of the Dharma body Buddha as well. Why? Because the response is the same as the Dharma. Meaning that there's no differentiation as far as Buddha is concerned, whether you true body or response body, it's all doing the same work. Okay, they all are achieving towards the same goal. In chapter 5, it says, in chapter 5, the Avatamsaka Sutra, it says that the markless body of sameness, of true suchness, the pure Dharma body, of light undefiled, with limitless bodies of wisdom and stillness, universally responds through 10 directions, and proclaims the Dharma. Okay, so this is proven in the sutra itself. 167.6. non-obstructiveness. Divided and complete are non-obstructive because each and every body division is replete with the entire body.
6. 分缘无碍，一一生分，即具全身故。
168. Number 6, non-obstructiveness nature is that divided or transformation body and complete, meaning the entire Dharma body not obstruct each other because divided or entire, they're all the same. They're all part of the same thing. Think about it. The Dharma body also includes response bodies, and response bodies have all the power associated with the Dharma body as well. So they're not different at all from either perspective. And then that's why this Buddha can sit in a fine most dust, tiny dust particle, and speaks the Dharma. Or he can sit on the tip of a hair pore and speak the Dharma or make appear Buddha lands on the tip of a hair pore. 7. Cause and fruit are non-obstructive because there is no obstruction of the present cause.
7. 因果无碍，不碍现因故。
170, commentary. The 7 non-obstructiveness is between cause and fruit. Why? Because there's no obstruction of the present cause. No obstruction of present cause because there's no obstruction of present cause, therefore no obstruction of the present fruit. You don't obstruct the cause of therefore the corresponding fruit is also non-obstructed. 171, 8. Dependent and proper are non-obstructive because there's no obstruction of the present dependent.
8. 一正无碍，不碍现依故。
In as far as your wisdom is concerned, you know of this dependent world or the material world where we depend on, like Ukraine and Europe. That's the dependent world. And the proper world is our human bodies, living beings' body. They don't mutually obstruct because of the non-obstruction of the present dependent. Okay? 173, 9. Secret entry is unobstructed because entry into the realm of living beings is just like the Tathagata store, which although it becomes living beings, does not lose its own nature.
9. 潜入无碍，入众生界，如如来藏，虽作众生，不失自性故。
Okay, 174. Commentary. The 9 non-obstructiveness is a secret entry is not obstructed. Secret entry refers to you enter without awareness, without knowing. So the unobstructed says secretly enter living beings, and that's the Tathagata store. Okay, so the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas can secretly enter human beings without them knowing, which although they function as living beings, it retains the nature of the Buddha nature. So nothing is lost and nothing is gained. It's the same thing. Yes? Black.
I wonder if the translation, if it's secret entry or it's hidden and then entrance are not obstructed.
Yeah, hidden would work too. Hidden meaning it's kept away from us.
So the it's not secret, right? It just means it's like the previous few causes. They're opposite in pairs, but they're not obstructing each other.
Right. Yeah, hidden also works as well. probably works a little bit better in secret, but it's the same concept.
The point is that it's like two things. It's here, secret entry is like a one word, like secret is describing the entry. But I felt another possibility is that qian and the ru, they're a pair. Just like previously, those pairs are not obstructing.
Oh, okay. So, hidden and entry. Secret and entry.
So it's like whether the Buddha is enter into the realm of living being or not enter. Qian is like basically not revealed, right?
Yeah.
You're right.
So very right.
Unobstructed.
Because it also says, 虽作众生不失自性. So even enter, it doesn't, lose the nature.
Is that what in Buddhism we all say that all living beings are endowed with Buddha nature. This formalizes it. That's all. Okay, meaning that that from our perspective we're confused. Okay. Because we don't know, we don't realize that we are part of this thing called the Buddha nature as well. Okay, so this Buddha nature secretly enters us, but we don't even know. Just because we're a living being, we still are part of this Buddha nature. Okay. 175. Therefore, in the chapter of appearances, it says,
故出现品云
176. So in this appearance chapter, 177, the Buddha's wisdom secretly enters the minds of living beings.
佛智潜入众生心
178, commentary. So the one thing that living beings don't realize that we have the Buddha's wisdom. Whether you Buddhist or not, whether you are a human or not, you still possess the Buddha's wisdom. And it is operative, if you will, and that's part of the marvels or wonders of life. We are capable of flashes of wisdom, flashes of clarity, flashes of geniuses, all of us. Okay, because it's the Buddha's wisdom that we are able to activate. 179, it also says, there is within the minds of living beings the Buddha who has accomplished proper enlightenment and so forth.
又云众生心中有佛尘等正觉
180, in that chapter it says, in the minds of living beings, the Buddha resides with all his Buddha's wisdom. And that's why when in the early stages of Chinese Chan, there's a great Chan master, a great Chan patriarch by the name of Ma Zu, very, very famous, very influential, because he trained, set the foundation to train a lot of great Chinese Chan masters later. And who founded the 5 Chinese Chan schools. And Ma Zu, and back then the Chan teaching is very scant. People didn't know how to interpret, how to teach it. And Ma Zu was the first to teach that mind is just Buddha, and Buddha is just your mind. Okay, so this is this is a teaching that reflects that we are endowed with the Buddha's wisdom within us as well. Okay, right now it's inside of us. So you don't need to look elsewhere. You don't need to go out and look at anything extraordinary to succeed in your endeavors. Just you need to figure out a way to consistently access and activate it. Okay, and that's what Chan does. Chan helps you develop that consistent skill. Right? 181. There is, furthermore, the gathering of all living beings into a single hair pore.
又亦摄一切众生在一毛孔。
182. It says here, furthermore, all living beings can fit into a hair pore. And that's one of the teachings of the Avatamsaka Sutra. 183. Skill at transformations, King of God said, you should contemplate a single hair pore of the Buddha. All the living beings are found within it, etc.
如因观佛一毛孔，一切众生悉在中等。
184, commentary. So there's a God King by the name of Skilled at Transformation. He has a lot of spiritual powers. He has a lot of incredible powers. And he says there, when we talk about fitting a single hair pore of the Buddha, I can tell you that if you want to verify that yourself, you can open this kind of wisdom. I did. He says you can contemplate, should contemplate, okay, contrary in spite of your limited mental or thinking mind. You should contemplate that all living beings can be found in a single hair pore of the Buddha. Okay, and that's how you open your mind to unobstructiveness. 10, 185, 10. Perfect penetration without obstruction. That is, this Buddha's body is both principle and specifics, is both one and many, is both dependent and proper.
10. 圆通无碍，为此佛身，即理即事，即一即多，即一即正。
186, commentary. It says the 10th type of non-destructiveness is that there is everything is interpenetrable. This Buddha's body, meaning this entire Dharma realm, is both principle and specifics. Okay, principle is Dharma body, and also specifics, meaning reward body and transformation bodies. They are both there. They are both one and many. This Buddha body is one Dharma body and also has infinite many bodies as the conditions arise for the Buddha to manifest in the Dharma realm. They're both dependent and proper, meaning the Buddha's body is dependent, meaning it's part of the material world. The material world is part of the Buddha's body, and so are we. We are part of this organism, huge whole organism all called Buddha. 187 is both person and Dharma, is both this and that, is both sentient and insentient, is both deep and vast, is both cause and fruit, is both 3 bodies and 10 bodies.
即人即法，即此即彼，即情即非情，即深即广， 即因即果，即三生，即十生。
188. Yeah. So it is a complete, the thorough unobstructiveness is in the form of person and Dharma, meaning that person is Siddhartha, this Gautama Buddha is, and also does not obstruct the Dharma body. This does not obstruct that. Both sentient does not obstruct insentient, and deep and vast. You look at deep is going down. Okay, vast is this dimension here. Second, the other remaining dimension. Therefore, infinitely in 3 dimensions. Okay, so there's no obstruction whatsoever. The obstruction comes from your mind. Okay, which is limited. That's why it creates obstructions. 189 is both cause and fruit. Is both 3 bodies and 10 bodies. That's why, from the perspective of the Buddha, as soon as you resolve for Bodhi, as soon as you resolve to become a Buddha, okay, then immediately you have accomplished proper enlightenment. Okay, from the Buddha perspective. It's both 3 bodies and 10 bodies. We talked earlier in the prior lectures about discerning the Buddha's had 3 bodies, and also you could classify the Buddha's body as 10 bodies, okay, and vice versa. So they all are not obstructing of each other. 190, it is the one identical unobstructed Dharma realms, clouds of bodies.
同一无碍法界生云。
It's not just the 3 bodies and the 10 bodies, but they're in the Dharma realms. The Dharma realms have infinitely different types of bodies. In the Dharma realms of specifics, we learn about this 4 different types of Dharma realms. Dharma realms of specifics, Dharma realms of principle, and 3, non-obstruction of specifics and principle. And number 4, non-obstruction of specifics and specifics. So this Buddha body here has total unobstructed manifestations. And all these different types of bodies can be used to speak Dharma. 192. Using those clouds of bodies, their pervasion of the previous times and places, and constant speaking of flower adornment, the flower adornment.
以此生云，遍前十处，常说华言。
193 is a very powerful statement here. It says here that this flower adornment sutra is spoken everywhere by limitless bodies. Okay, whether it's living beings, whether it's material things, they are all speaking of flower adornment sutra. Okay, it's all constantly speaking the sutra. Try to understand that. 194. Therefore, you should know that it may speak of the reward body being located in ultimate form, speaking in terms of inclusive of the reward.
是之或说报身在色究竟，曰摄报说。
And 195. So in the sutra, some of the part of the sutra mention that the reward body is in the station of ultimate form, speaking Dharma from wisdom about the reward body, and folks. So it This bodhisattvas, they use these different types of bodies to cultivate and perfect the cultivation. And this bodhisattva here, in the station of ultimate form, and they appear in different types of form, appear to be very tall, very large, okay, and with a single thought of interactive wisdom, or the wisdom of all modes, okay, in one thought, his ignorance suddenly ends. 196. So historically, when Shakyamuni Buddha was cultivating the Bodhisattva path and brought his merit and virtue to perfection in the place of ultimate form here refers to the formless realm, and he made appear the body Nishyanda Buddha, and the tallest, larger body of all worlds. So even he's not a Buddha yet. He's not perfected his reached Buddhahood yet. Bodhisattvas like Shakyamuni Buddha can appear reward bodies. They have their own reward bodies of the Buddhas. And how do you get the one thought interactive wisdom? This particular samadhi practice, you nurture that one thought through which the ignorance will end. Okay. 197. Or it may speak of the reward body being located in all the Pure Lands, speaking in terms of supportive inclusion.
或说报身在于净土，约引摄说。
198. Or not just this world, but you also have a reward body in the Pure Lands, speaking of Dharma, and in the perspective of supportive inclusion, meaning that the reward body can be here, can be seen here, it can be also seen in other impure lands as well as other pure lands. 199. Or it may speak of Nishyanda, and there's an extra A there, seated upon 1,000-petal flower, speaking inclusive of the second ground.
或说摄那作千叶华，摄二谛说。
200. There's a verse from the Brahman Sutra. It says that Nishyanda. Can you make the correction in the prior slide? Because we don't make it now. Nishyanda. There's no A here. There's no nada. Nada is different language. In the sutra, in a Buddhist sutra called Brahman Sutra, where it speaks of the Bodhisattva precepts, explains the Bodhisattva precepts, it speaks of the Nishyanda Buddha seated on a lotus platform. And this platform has 1,000 petals. In each petal, he makes appear 100 million countries and Buddha lands. And each country, there is a Shakyamuni Buddha that turns the Dharma wheel. And this is at the second ground level. It turns out, 201, it turns out at the various levels you have the different lotus days. First ground, the Nishyanda sits on the 100 petals lotus. Third ground sits on 10,000 petals lotus. And the fourth ground is 1 million petals. Fifth ground is 1 billion petals. Sixth ground is 1 trillion petals. So you see, as at the higher level of wisdom, the more adorned, the more gigantic these days become. 202, or perhaps it speaks of the advanced grounds being able to see, speaking in terms of superior potentials.
或说登地方见，曰圣机说。
203, or that's a low level, or maybe on the advanced grounds, meaning for Mahasattvas, there are different class. Low-level bodhisattvas, they have wisdom, but they're limited wisdom, and therefore their blessings are inferior, and meaning their ability to help living beings is also limited. And that's a difference in the depth of the teachings, of their teachings. So for the advanced grounds, for the Mahasattvas, okay, then they also speak the sutras for those beings as well. 204. Or perhaps it is divided in 3 different parts, being described according to substance, mark, or function.
或分3义，从体相用说。
205. You see, remember the will being taught depending on the level of the audience. So even for the bodhisattvas, there is differences in the Dharma that's being bestowed upon them. Or you can talk in terms of different parts, 3 different parts. Okay, though you talk in terms of speak the Dharma with the substance or the Dharma body, with the mark or the reward body. The reward body has incredibly adorned marks. And or in terms of function, meaning that you now divide into excuse me, into the various tasks that need to be done, various functions that need to be performed in order to teach living beings. 206. On this Shastra, Awakening Faith, he talked about 3 greatnesses. The greatness of the substance, meaning that all dharmas are identical with the true substance, neither increasing nor decreasing. So we all are endowed with that. We are part of this great substance. Or the great mark, or meaning a treasureless one is endowed with limitless, meritorious virtues of nature. So these great marks of reward body of the Buddhas, they are the result of limitless merit and virtues of the nature. Or the great function. The great function is to help people, living beings, with all sorts of causes and conditions for them to transcend the world. Okay? 207. None of these is the true and actual meaning of this sutra.
俱非此经真实义故。
208. None of those, whether refers to the case of perhaps being response body, reward body, Dharma body, or substance, mark, or function, all those differentiations, the way it's talked about in sacred ground, okay, or in the advanced grounds. 209. Should there be division into 3, 10 which are not the same, and description that contrasts provisional and actual?
设分30不同，一全实对说。
210. So whether you differentiate into 3 or 10 bodies, or or differentiate between provisional and actual. Provisional meaning that we teach, the Buddhism is taught in terms to help people with lower capacity. So we teach them temporarily to bring them to safety first. And then actual is now tell them the truth, that you are much better than that. You don't need to worry about safety and security. 211. If there is no interpenetration with the previous meanings, the purport, this sutra is also lost.
若不容前意，亦失经宗。
So when you explain these things, okay, all these concepts, all these manifestations, all these teachings are interpenetration, and that's the meaning of this Flower Dharma Sutra. Free yourself from all discrimination, all obstructions. 213. The fourth, depending on the samadhi, whenever there is movement and stillness, it is only for creatures. How could it be true of a sage?
第四依三昧者，夫动静为物，甚岂然乎？
Now that you mastered the meaning of the prior 60 slides, we went through very fast, didn't we? 50 slides. Okay. Now it tells you we go back to the fourth. You see how wonderful it is? We finished 10, and now we go back to fourth. Fourth what? Come on, you should know. We spent like months discussing this already. Okay. If you continue, eventually we will tell you, remind you what fourth is. We are still in the first section where it discusses why this Flower Dharma Sutra was spoken. The 10 causes for it being spoken, the 10 conditions for it being spoken. So fourth is the fourth condition, okay, of why the sutra was spoken. Does it make sense now? You say, of course. Yeah. The condition for the Buddha to speak this sutra, for this sutra to be spoken, it has to be in samadhi. Because it says here, when you talk about, when you distinguish between stillness and samadhi, like we teach you Chan because your mind is moving too much, and therefore we teach you about how to enter stillness, and that's because you're creatures, okay? You're not a sage yet, because that's what we need to distinguish, to remind you and train you how to go from movement to stillness. And once you get the stillness, eventually you get to enter the state of a sage. Okay, whereas when you reach the ultimate level, that's this Buddha. Okay, is always in samadhi. It's never not in samadhi. So this is rather interesting because when you speak the Dharma, certain types of Dharmas, never mind about low-level Dharmas and Dharma talks. When you speak sutras, the higher, the more difficult sutras need to be spoken while in samadhi. The advanced dharmas, the advanced levels of the dharma spoken for advanced levels like the mahasattvas, you have to be in samadhi. Okay, it's a requirement, and that's why that's how you convey This is how you convey the substance of the sutra. It requires that kind of power in order to convey that to the Mahasattvas. Okay, and that's why now you have the clue as to why this Flowered Brahman Sutra, which is the very, very quintessential teaching, the advanced teaching of Mahayana, is rarely taught or explained even by the Buddhist patriarchs. Okay, the patriarchs before Master Hsuan, for example, Master Xu Yun really wouldn't be qualified to talk about this Flower Dormant Sutra. They don't understand. Okay, they cannot understand. So that's why before Master Hsuan, few Chinese patriarchs spoke the Flower Dormant Sutra. It's not until Master Hsuan came to our country, to the United States, okay, then he explained the Flower Dormant Sutra. Funny thing is that he explained it not for his disciples, but it had to be transmitted to our world. Otherwise, Mahayana would be too low of a level. Okay, and after that, if you truly want to speak the sutra, okay, our future, the later generations need to have enough samadhi in order to convey the essence of the sutra. Okay, and make a difference. Okay, so the interesting point here is that the deeper the teaching, the higher level of samadhi of the speaker. Otherwise, it cannot be conveyed. You see the consequences. So not only for us as students who listen to this, you stick to Master Hsuan, okay, but also from my perspective as well as a speaker, if we really want to contribute to further the understanding or expand the knowledge of the Avatamsaka Sutra, the samadhi has to be adequate. Otherwise, you simply are in the shadow of the prior speakers. Does it make sense? I'm telling you this because this is important for your generation. My generation is too late. We are losers. Okay, it's too late for us. We're too old and too tired and too disappointed with life and too bitter. But for the future generation, it's very important, to understand, discern the differences. That is. Don't be like others who imitated Master Hsuan. After Master Hsuan started explaining the Flower Dormant Sutra, a lot of Chinese monks and nuns outside of his system started lecturing on that as well. And let me assure you, they speak nonsense. It's just total waste of time. So in turn, when you go to this particular sutra, this Dharma here, don't bother. It's garbage. It's very important. And that's the nature of the work. Master Hsuan gave the superb and profound interpretation of the sutra, and it gets distorted and minimized by the proliferation of nonsense explanation of sutra by low-level people who have no business lecturing in the sutra. At all. And I remember going to that famous Asian monk who's known for, has a lot of followers in the Pure Land school. He also lectured on the Flowered Brahman Sutra. It's total nonsense. You listen to a few lines, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. It's garbage. Or another Vietnamese monk, very famous, has PhDs and so forth from big universities. And that guy was smarter. He's wouldn't dare touch the Flowered Brahman Sutra. So what did he do? He explained the Shrangama Sutra. It's total nonsense as well. Okay, and so what happened is that you have this beautiful, beautiful explanation of Shrangama Sutra by Master YongHua, who is dwarfed, who's vastly outnumbered by junk explanation of Shrangama Sutra. Okay, and that's the nature of the work. You have to be careful on the sources, and I hope that I speak like this because I hope it's for your sake. You should realize that junk out there is harmful to Buddhism. Doesn't help our cause, doesn't help living beings, and therefore we should be aware of that. Tell our people to be aware of that and produce more worthy work. Okay, and that requires you to get up there. And so you remember, Master Sheo explained that Avatamsaka Sutra really is not for my generation. Okay, it's for your generation. Interestingly, so to me it's interesting. He explained the sutra, even this prologue here. I assure you, none of his disciples dare touch a prologue. Because you notice we went through 50 slides and I didn't understand what he was talking about, nor did you. I'll be very honest with you. Let's just plant the seeds. It's just a lot more we can handle. But it doesn't mean we should ignore it. To ignore it would be to miss out on an opportunity to plant those superior Vajra seeds. You see, it's multiple iterations. What you hear today will be different when you hear it again in 2 years, 5 years, 10 years. And that's why it takes time. Just like you have a child, you need to invest in the child and wait for him to grow at his own pace. Right? And that's wisdom. Okay, so for your generation, I'm very hopeful because I find myself explaining this. So I pray to God that maybe some of you will get up there as well. Okay, and it's a challenge for me to maybe find a way to bring you up there, so that you too, when it's your turn, you can sit up here and explain about this sutra as well. And one of the clues is that do not be afraid of a prologue. Yes.
I just want to comment that Master YongHua's Avatamsaka Sutra explanations are on YouTube. There are a few uploads. So basically, each lecture have a few videos there. But just among all of them together, I think they have maybe less than 500 views per talk.
500 views.
Less.
Yeah.
No, so it's not really getting
because it's not being promoted.
people.
Listen. if you don't get it, even if I don't get it, what I do is promote it so that I get the blessings. Because I can't explain it as well as Master YongHua. If I get you to listen to his explanations, then I get the blessings too myself. Okay? And that's why you cannot be short-sighted and say, I don't want to refer to someone else because then, then people, I'm a lesser of a lecturer. I'm a lesser of a Dharma master. It's not that way at all. Okay? We are helping you plant the Vajra seeds. So the better the quality of the seeds, the better off you are, and so am I. Okay? That's wisdom. It's not about seeking notoriety or personal gains here. It's about helping you, okay, making it available. All right? And so that's very important to help people not waste time and plant the wrong seeds. Really, for this particular sutra here, only Master YongHua is the only worthwhile one. And it says 500 views. That's ridiculous. It's because people of my generation failed in promoting it, in making it available and promoting it. Okay? And therefore, if I fail in that aspect, okay, you should not follow me and do more and promote it to your benefit. And the difference is that's why my generation, our level is not that high. I mean, his disciples' level is not that high because they miss out on these wonderful opportunities to transmit the Dharma, to make the Dharma more available, instead of opening their mouth and saying nonsense, speak nonsense, teach nonsense. The merit and virtue you accrue is dependent upon the goods that you do for others. So instead of me speaking nonsense, I try to promote Master YongHua's teachings and because they're deeper. Okay? Therefore you get more, therefore I get more too. But the funny thing is that to me, from my personal perspective, because when I started teaching years ago, when Master YongHua asked me to teach, he never taught me how to do it. And through trial and errors and failures and so forth, repeated failures, I finally figured out how to do it. And it's still failure because if you look at the crowd here and the views of our videos compared to the others, it's like it's a joke. Okay, but this is from the perspective of the raw quantity, the raw clicks, the raw views. But if you look at it from the perspective of the quality of the clicks or the quality of the views, we are doing much better, much better. Okay, my analogy is that it's the weight of an elephant is far more than a million mosquitoes. All right? So don't worry. We are going for quality, and the approach seems to be sensible because you are growing. Okay, it resonates with you. 215. He sets out a track for those after to follow, making clear that one is about to speak.
是轨后途，明将有说。
216, commentary. So this is how the Buddha trained his disciples to speak the Dharma. So he says all these important Dharma's teachings he was giving to his disciples, his followers. And so he gave these clues as to how the importance of the Dharma he's about to speak. 217. There must be still examination and prior contemplation in receiving the aid of all Buddhas.
必须进见前理，受诸佛家。
What does it mean? 218. It says, this Brahman Sutra was spoken by the Buddha and by his disciples. In our version, our short version, most of the chapters are spoken by his disciples, okay, not by the Buddha, okay. And so he taught them. He says, before his disciples spoke the Dharma, okay, meaning not only them, but also us. Before we speak Dharma, at our level we're much lower, and therefore when you speak Dharma, still the same process. We still need to be still, we must be still, and meditate on the principles. Okay, that's number one. Hey, this is a very important clue here. Not just for these disciples, but for me and for you as well. Let me explain. This is what I was terrified when I started, when I was a novice, and the way they train the people. It's funny, recently someone offered to do public speaking training for us, and I said, wow, that's well-meaning, it's wonderful that people care, okay? But they don't realize, they don't understand these people. It's not the same training as as public speaking. It doesn't work like that, okay? Public speaking is totally different from us. The way we train our people, because I personally went through public speaking training as a lay person, okay? And I was in sales as well, so I did a lot of public speaking as well. And so it's quite different from the way we train people to speak the Dharma, okay? So when I first started to speaking the Dharma, I was a novice, and they simply said, oh, tonight you come up and speak Dharma. So you sit there and you wait for your turn to speak, okay? Speak the Dharma, and you have two problems. The people who speak before you are more senior than you and more advanced than you, and they're much more eloquent than you. And number two, you have a group of people down there whose kung fu is higher than you, watching you. You're frightened to death. I remember as a novice, when we have an ordination, we invited this Vietnamese monk to be a certified monk, because when you do a full ordination, you have 3 masters and 7 certifiers. So the senior Vietnamese monk, because they wanted to, at the city they wanted to be international, so they invited monks of different disciplines and different nationalities. So they came around, they decided, we're going to invite one Vietnamese monk. So they couldn't find anyone. Okay? So, because for whatever the reasons, they were too hardy, whatever. So they said, why should we come? So this Vietnamese monk, who is really not liked by the Vietnamese, they agreed to be a certifier. So he showed up. Okay, he lives in Orange County, and I later I received training from him as well. He taught me how to do the Vietnamese ceremony, and after he did that, he taught me and my Dharma brother for 2 hours. And after he done teaching us how to do the incense praise in Vietnamese, okay, and he came out and opened this book that has a charity project building some kind of bridge somewhere in Vietnam. This is a long, long time ago. And the list has a bunch of names of monks and nuns and lay people who gave donations and their addresses. Okay, so after he taught us how to do the incense praise, we're supposed to make a donation for charity. Okay, these people really have to hustle to make a living. Anyway, so this guy and that monk came to be certified for us. Okay, and being certified, being a senior monk, he was asked to speak a Dharma. Okay, and I was translating for him. That's how bad it was. Okay, I was novice translating Dharma into English from Vietnamese into English. That's how bad in terms of language skills and for that big organization. So he spoke the Dharma, and for some reason, when he just turned to speak the Dharma, he sat there and I sat next to him. He would speak the Dharma, and he could not speak Dharma at all. He was frozen. Okay, and so at the time I was a novice for 10 months. What did I know? Didn't know anything about Dharma. I couldn't speak the Dharma in Vietnamese anyway. So when he spoke in Vietnamese, I couldn't understand it. But he couldn't speak anything. He was frozen. He was so frightened because he was stared by all the Master Shewa disciples. There are a few hundred of them, all staring at him and look at, let's hear at what this Vietnamese monk has to offer us. The attitude, very frightening. It's just like you. If your kung fu is higher than me, you sit down there and T says, let's see what this guy has to offer me. I came here for 2 hours. What is he going to give me tonight? If you have the attitude up here and your kung fu is higher than me, you have a high level samadhi than me, you know what happens to me? I'm so frightened. How do I know that? Can I say it now that he's dead? Can I tell you the story now, the other monk who's dead? Anyway, let me finish this and I tell you why I know. Okay. So all these disciples of Master Shewa, arhats, enlightened people, they all sat down there and said, let's see what the Vietnamese guy who dare come to the lion's lair and see what he's going to offer us, want to give us. And up there, it's like you have 300 lights shining upon this guy, pairs of lights, shining and pointing at him. And up there, he's froze. He was so frightened. Okay? And so he couldn't speak. He was speaking nonsense. He was like right now. He was stuttering. He didn't make. He's no beginning. He's no end. I couldn't tell. And I was so stupid. I said, I was so stupid. When YongHua was translating for another monk, he spoke his own Dharma. He didn't understand the other monk, so he spoke nonsense. But he was telling a story and speaking nonsense. And we knew it's nonsense because the Chinese who understand that Chinese on that monk later told me, hey, there's two different things. There's no connection. But YongHua was smart. He says, I'm not going to look bad. Okay, so he spoke his own Dharma. He's speaking nonsense this side. And everyone, oh, wonderful, oh. But I was stupid. I said, what is, So he couldn't speak the Dharma. I couldn't translate. So after 20 minutes, the guy looked over to me and said, you are killing me. My Dharma is so beautiful, and you are not doing a good job translating. So he said, you fired. Give me another translator. So anyway, so I was fired in front of everyone. It's funny, I wasn't nervous at all because all the light was pointing at him. You see, if they were pointing at me, I'd be probably frozen too. So anyway, so later, after 4 years later, after I became fully ordained, by my Vietnamese master, and then during those 4 years, I had some bodhisattvas came and taught me. Okay, And circumstances forced me to develop some skills. Okay, so I went over to Thich Nhat Hanh. Thich Nhat Hanh, the monk who died recently. Okay, so what he did is put on a special training session for monks only. Okay, at here in San Jose, that big Vietnamese temple in the mountain. I forgot the name. You know, let's not mention names. Okay, but you know, it used to be the biggest one, the most famous one here, local here. So we have 40 monks and nuns going up there, Vietnamese only, and maybe a few lay people, like inner circle people. And he went up there, so I asked my Vietnamese master, my Thích Mạng Giác, I said, Master, can I go up there because I need some training as a monk? And Master Thich Nhat Hanh, he's doing training for monks and nuns. He's recruiting, mind you. It's not training, it's recruitment. So the master says, yeah, sure, go. So he drove up there from Los Angeles. I drove up to San Jose and go to the mountain retreat there, mountain temple there. And I heard so much about Thich Nhat Hanh. So went up there. I drove up there early morning, drive early in the morning, got there around 9, 10 o'clock. 5-6 hour drive, and Thich Nhat Hanh was speaking the Heart Sutra. Okay, so he was explaining the Heart Sutra as part of his training for the monks and nuns. So it's a big pompous thing. You have like 40 monks and nuns sitting there, adorned, very adorned. So, you're Chinese of the great master, and he's going to teach us about the Prajna Dharma, which is Dharma alignment. Okay, Heart Sutra, very popular, very famous. But you know that's the Dharma about enlightenment, for people to become enlightened. Because this is pure teaching. So, and the whole morning I was waiting. I was anxiously, eagerly waiting to learn from this monk here, this race monk here. So he finally came out, and people hit the bell, and people walked pompously. He sat down. He's so adorned. That Nhat is beautiful, beautiful looking monk, and he's so used to being treated with grandeur. So he's so impressive. Let me tell you. Okay, short but impressive. Something about short people. I think they make it up by being more impressive than tall people. I don't know. Law of nature, I guess. So they sat down, and he started explaining the Heart Sutra. And he says, and I was sitting there, I said, oh, that's a great monk, that's a great master. Wow. I hope I'm so lucky. I'm going to learn some wonderful Dharma from this famous monk who is even more famous than my teacher, my Chinese teacher, Master YongHua. Master YongHua is not as famous as Thich Nhat Hanh. You know that, right? So this is fantastic. So I sat there. So I'm so blessed. I sat there. My eyes never left him for a second. And I said, "What is he teaching?" So I ate him up with my own eyes. Every single thing that I didn't even blink, let me tell you, for the whole time. And then he explained, I said, this is explanation of the sutra, because I listened to Master YongHua's explanation already. Okay, a lot of sutras that Master YongHua explained. I said, wait a minute, that is really not Prajna Dharma. I was still staring the whole time until he got to the point where a section he says, here the Buddha uses too many words. I know this Heart Sutra is the essence of the Prajna Dharma, but if I were the Buddha, he said, I would have removed this phrase here because it's not necessary. When I heard that, I was so disappointed because Buddhas, when you learn Buddhism, Buddha's sermons, teachings are dead on. He never wastes a single word in his teachings. Nothing extra, nothing missing. Okay? And that's the nature of the Buddha's teaching. This guy here saying, I have more wisdom than the Buddha. I would not teach it like this. And I look at that, I was so disappointed. Okay? And that's it. I gave up on him. And it wasn't long after that, all the adoration became big disappointment. Okay? And by that time, he got there, it's about half an hour later, 20 minutes later, after he started. He said, what's happening here? How come it's so hot here? How come I can't breathe? And finally, after I gave up on him, okay, then he said, oh, now I feel better. So that's how I found out that my scrutinizing him for 20 minutes, okay, he was sweating, he was stuttering, the same thing happened to the other Vietnamese monk. But my level was much lower than Master Hsuan disciples. You see? So that's why, most monks and nuns will not dare come to our temple and speak Dharma to you, okay? Because you are frightening. Okay? So that's why when you go to other temples, be careful. Don't scrutinize the Dharma speakers. Let them be. Don't judge them. Okay? Even Master Hsuan disciples, they come to the temples, don't judge them. Okay? So anyway, so I figured out, that you need to meditate here in 218, back to 218. You need to meditate, be still and contemplate. That means meditation. And that's why Master Hsuan told his disciples, meditate 2 hours before you speak Dharma. And what he didn't tell us, the second one, he didn't tell a lot of his disciples, but I learned this from YongHua. YongHua level is very low. YongHua is a senior disciple of Master Hsuan that was in Calgary, in the Avatamsaka monastery. And YongHua has a huge temper, but he's a senior disciple. So he's a senior in a council, in the monks' council. And he taught me a lot. I'm very grateful to him. And he says, hey, that's me. When I speak Dharma, and that's his voice by then, I speak Dharma. Every time I speak Dharma, I put my hands together and I pray the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas help me out. This is it. Request 8 from Buddhas. You ought to do that when you speak Dharma. It works. If you ask for sincerity, I do it all the time. You know why when we do Dharma requests, I'm supposed to do it like you? I'm requesting help. Now you know. Okay? Because if you're sincere, the Buddha will help you. And it's not the same when you speak on your own. Trust me. Okay? And so you have to request 8 from the Buddhas and the Bodhisattvas. Next, 219. It is upon the rising of samadhi that one starts to speak. One's words are then certain to be suitable and true.
从定起而发言，言必真当。
So 220. This is why in Buddhism and outside of the fence, we stress so much on samadhi development. Okay, because before speaking, before doing anything important, you need to enter samadhi, especially when you speak the Dharma, then your words will certainly be suitable and true, meaning you will be true, your words will be true to your mind and will be suitable for the audience. Yes?
Is that access samadhi? Is that access samadhi? Then speak Dharma.
I'm sorry?
Is it access samadhi first and then speak Dharma?
Yeah, because what you do is what we train at the DRB is that we taught to, but the Master YongHua actually told his disciples before doing ceremonies, before speaking Dharma, like people who speak Dharma like Hengshu, he told them to cross their legs for 2 hours before speaking Dharma. So when the time comes for you to speak Dharma, then you qi, chung ting qi. You get up and go speak. That's chung ting qi.
But you're still in samadhi while you speak Dharma.
You have to enter samadhi. That's natural. Trust me, it's very easy to enter samadhi when you're about to speak Dharma. Especially if you're famous, like Heng Shu. If you don't, your Dharma will be horrible, and you will lose your notoriety.
In the samadhi, you meditate and you exit, you stand up, you go to Buddha hall and you enter samadhi again.
You enter samadhi, okay? So you enter samadhi and you get up from samadhi, okay? So, and furthermore, this is more than that. This the third one you're talking about is another thing that they are not taught, because if they taught that, they'd be frightened. They will not dare do it. Yeah, there's a difference, is that. So we arise from samadhi. So we taught, like Master YongHua says, meditate for 2 hours. Okay, so even like during doing ceremonies, the same thing. You meditate for 2 hours, and you go and get up. So you arise from samadhi, and you go, you perform the ceremonies. Here's what happens. When you do the ceremonies after you meditate, it's very easy for you to enter samadhi. Again, that's the secret that they have. Okay? It's not just for us, but also I noticed that in the Vietnamese monks and nuns. My Vietnamese master's temple is famous for their ceremonies. Okay, from Central Vietnam. My master is a Central Vietnamese. So they have the best ceremonies in Vietnamese for the Central Vietnamese people. So and I knew that the samadhis are not very high, but I noticed that all of them, all the Central Vietnamese who specialists in doing ceremonies, they all enter samadhi. Even while they stand there and participating, others are doing ceremonies, all those people, okay, practically is the only time they enter samadhi during the day. And the Vietnamese faithful are taught to recognize that, by the way. So typically, you look at the Vietnamese monks and nuns, those who specialize in doing ceremonies, okay, when they do ceremonies or they're part of doing the ceremonies in the Buddha hall or during the ceremony execution, they all can stand very still. Notice that. That's samadhi. But after the ceremony, they move like crazy. That's how you can tell. So the part of the training of doing ceremonies for these people is entering samadhi, helps them enter samadhis. Okay? So in our environment, it's a similar kind of thing, because we do so much chant that when you do ceremonies, you naturally enter samadhi. When you hit wood fish, you naturally enter samadhi. Okay? So that's a secret. But when you speak Dharma, okay, then Hengzuo, Master YongHua didn't teach them this. Maybe they teach them, but they didn't. Those people at CTB didn't teach me. I had to go to Calgary, and Hengzuo was trying to impress me. He knew that that my samadhi is higher than him. So Hengzu was trying to impress me with his knowledge, so he gave me a lot of knowledge. Okay. So he said, I prayed to the Buddha for help. I said, of course. Because your Dharma you speak is nonsense. Wei Mao, go ahead.
I have a quick question. So let's say that a monk speaks Dharma and then he speaks nonsense. Can that be possible? It's to be in Somali and still speak nonsense?
Yeah, of course. You in samadhi, you still can speak nonsense.
So that means that they're not getting protection from the Buddha, or is they still getting protection from the Buddha?
I'm sorry, that means what?
So that means that they're not getting protection from the Buddha, or they still getting the protection?
Well, I don't know. They may get protection. Maybe they didn't ask. Maybe they asked. I don't know. Why, when they in samadhi, or they speak nonsense? Let me tell you why. Because I listen, I speak nonsense because when I listen to you speak Dharma, I don't care who you are. Any of you who speaks Dharma, you open your mouth, I hear nonsense. So it doesn't matter you're in samadhi or not. Whatever you say is nonsense to me already. Because at low level samadhis, your understanding is very, very shallow. At low level samadhi, you only see a slice of the cheesecake, if you will. You're only describing that, and you say, when you describe the cheesecake, you forget about its relationship with the rest of the cheesecake. I just had cheesecake today for lunch. Okay? So that's why when you speak long enough, okay, more than 1 minute or 2 minutes, and the more you speak, the more your understanding lacks the relationship, the connection with the rest of the cheesecake, if you will. Buddha Dharma is like that. Buddha Dharma is like a big cheesecake. So whatever level you are reveals how many slices you can cover, you can describe. So the more you speak, those high levels can last a bit longer. Heng Shu can last a little bit longer. But eventually he starts saying that, that guy, the Vietnamese guy, oh, these words are not necessary. You can simplify this and make it shorter and much more punchy. And that's why, because you don't see the connection between the rest of the cheesecake. Does it make sense? That's why. It doesn't matter. You're low level, you don't last very long before you speak nonsense. Go ahead, Wei Mountain.
Thank you, Master. If you can allow me to speak nonsense for a moment. A lot of what we spoke about today had to do with scale. So example, like the more grounds, the more lotus petals, and then also for all living beings fitting in the hair pore of a Buddha. It just seems like the higher up you go, the smaller in relation to the whole you are. How should we understand scale in order to help us on our path?
It's nothing to understand. You're trying to understand that you're wrong already. It's nothing to understand. It's just hearing that all living beings can fit on the tip of a hair pore of the Buddha. That's all you have to remember. You don't need to understand. There's nothing to understand. It's not for us to understand. Personally, I don't understand it. I don't care. I can repeat it until the end of time. I still don't get it. Not yet. But It is a fact. Because remember, there's a Mahasattva says, contemplate that all living beings can fit on the hair pore, on the tip of a hair of the Buddha. And that's a fact. Instead of trying to understand it, which is a waste of time, we should simply say, wow, this is fantastic. Okay? This is the secret of the universe. And we hear it. And we're aware of it. Isn't it incredible? That's blessings right there. Even if he doesn't understand. Okay? The boy who doesn't understand right there, it still enters his consciousness. It's the same as us. He's the same, has the same blessings as us, same seats as us. Isn't that incredible? And you look around you, Alex, to your left, there is someone there who has no clues on what we're talking about. It has the same exact benefits as we do. And that's our fun. Our fun is that, wow, that even benefits those losers. Those people. We all get the same benefits. And that's what's fascinating about this. It's not about understanding at all. Let me remind you, your understanding is what is very limited. When you let go of that insistence on understanding, that's when your wisdom will open up. And it's the same thing, okay? If here I personally say, I need to understand how is it possible that all living beings can fit on the tip of hair of the Buddha's hair pore. If I insist on understanding it, this is what happens to me. I will never understand it. That's incredible. That's a secret. It's just like you ask people, how do you become a crypto millionaire or billionaire? And they say, let me tell you how. Okay? Because these people are there. They know what it's like. We don't know what it's like. Right? The same thing here. These Mahasattva are there. They experience it already. They said, all you need to do is contemplate. That's the case. That's a top secret. Now you know the secret of the universe. Don't you feel it's fantastic? Now it's such an important big deal. We give it away for free, even to non-Buddhists. Isn't it fantastic? We don't need to make a big deal out of it. And that's the same thing. That is why when you learn these things, just listen and let it happen. It will naturally happen. You don't need to be greedy. You don't need to demand. You don't need to insist. Okay? Just be grateful that it's being bestowed upon you freely, generously. Why? Because you have the blessings. Because you are worthy of it. If you're not worthy, you wouldn't have a prayer or a chance, let me assure you. You wouldn't be there. You wouldn't listen to this because you didn't have the blessings. I'm telling you, this is a fact. If you didn't have the blessings for a Flower Dharma Sutra, here's what happened to you. As soon as you hear of this, you turn it off. Okay? You stand up and you walk away. So there's no need to insist on understanding. No need to insist on putting our arms around it. We can't. There's no point. And by dropping that insistence on understanding, that's how you will understand. quicker. That's all. Okay, time is up. Thank you, everyone. Next time, 221. Okay, and that's do the rebirth transference.